My first time home in a few days, and there's freaking ash all over my computer chair, which has kind of become our patio furniture. Hey guys, Steve the Amateur Historian. It's not as hot, but it's still muggy, and there's still ash in the sky. I probably shouldn't even be out here. I've already been outside enough the past couple of days. My nose is kind of itchy. But I really have to sit down and give my 2 cents on the recent events that have happened here in Northwest Oregon, the Columbia River Gorge fire in particular. If you haven't heard about the fire going on in the gorge, first of all, where the hell have you been? It's actually become national news, which I'm kind of surprised about because there's so many fires going on. But I guess since this one is affecting a major city, it's, more news than other wildfires that tend to be more out in the wilderness or in, national forest places. So I guess more people's lives affected, bigger news. But I don't want to get off on that tangent. But for those who don't know the story in depth yet, essentially what happened, and it took me a while. I just heard that at first it was like, oh, you hear there's a fire in the gorge. It's like, oh, great, there's a fire in the gorge. But, they'll take care of it. And then, of course, it's exploded. But as of now, the 6th, as of yesterday when I went to bed, it was my understanding that the fire was still 0% contained. But today, the winds have died down considerably. It's a little bit cooler. It drizzled a bit, but probably not enough to have much of an effect. But I saw a few hours ago that the fire was now 25% contained. It seems like they've held off the fire around Multnomah Falls and saved the lodge that's there that dates back to 1915. The Oneonta Gorge Tunnel, which I've been to a few times, got completely torched, which means Oneonta, that whole gorge, has probably been torched. One of the most popular places for people to visit, especially in recent years, is just up in smoke, literally. It looks like the Vista House will be okay. Hopefully places like Lateral and Bridalveil, which are a little bit closer to the ground and not so high up in the hills, hopefully what's there will be okay. Shepherd's Dell, that's my favorite spot in the gorge, is a little bit higher up. I'm hoping that area makes it through okay. The fire's still burning now as we speak, so we're not going to know till it's all, or at least pretty much all out, what all has been completely eviscerated out there. Now the story, for those who don't know, apparently a group of teenagers got their hands on some fireworks of some kind. I don't know the exact make. They were out in the gorge and they were lighting them and kind of throwing them off of a cliff or down a hill. And when they landed, they sparked a fire because the Columbia River Gorge is all trees. Apparently, the average age range of these kids is 15. The reason that we know who did it is because there was fortunately a witness out there who literally saw them doing it. Apparently, one of them was filming it. They were laughing, having a good old time. And apparently, she saw it, immediately it started smoking, and she brought that to attention, do you realize what you've done? This will probably start a forest fire. And they kind of chuckled it off, or just kind of like, well, what are we going to do about it now? And there's video of the police talking to some teenagers in the area. It's presumed, I don't know if it's dead certain, but it's presumed at least at this point that those were at least some of the kids that were involved. So make no mistake about it, these kids clearly did not care about what they were doing. They didn't care about the fact that clearly they were at least at risk of creating a forest fire, and the fact that they were deep in the gorge means it was very likely that they could have started a forest fire that nobody would have noticed until it, exploded into something huge. People see the smoke coming out and it's like, oh shit, what's going on up in the gorge? We're just fortunate that there was a witness there right away, even though the fire still managed to get really big really fast, and it's just scattered all over the gorge, literally from Multnomah Falls to the east, pretty much almost to the Vista House and Crown Point to the west. like the prime piece of the fucking gorge. And so much of it is getting torched by this. And again, we don't know how many more historical places may fall victim to this fire. I'm hoping that with the slight change in the weather, the fact that they're actually containing some of the fire, hopefully whatever gets damaged from here on out will be much, much less than what we feared. All that said, here's my 2 cents. You don't have to agree with me. This is America. We're allowed to believe pretty much whatever we want. It is my opinion that the individuals that did this, that started this fire, should suffer pretty much the strictest of possible legal injunctions, which would mean extensive community service. I think they should be forcibly directly involved in helping restore what they destroyed. They should have to put hundreds, thousands of hours into that. That should literally be their life from here on out, pretty much. I think, they're underage, so following the rules of law in our country, they should have to be in a juvenile center, and I believe they should do jail time. I was pissed when the thing first happened. I was like, these guys should rot in jail for the rest of their lives. But that's because the Columbia River Gorge is my most favorite place in the world, so I was very volatile, very reactive. And I still hope I never meet these idiots that did this. I've never had a fist fight in my whole life. Never had a fight of any kind. But I honestly, if I met these kids on the street, even at the age of 15, I don't know if I'd be able to hold back. I probably would just scream in their face a little bit, but I don't want to know them. I don't want to even know they exist. But yeah, they should have to do serious time. Maybe not necessarily prison time, but they should at least be in jail for a while after they become of age. And they should have to owe a very, very life-consuming, serious debt to, the state of Oregon, the Columbia River Gorge, and surrounding areas. And hopefully, if that does happen and they find that they end up having to spend a lot of their life righting the wrong they did, maybe sometime down the road, they'll, discover a love of nature and discover a better understanding of what they did, and reach a point where they truly do, to a degree, make up to some extent for what they did. But right now, there are a couple of smart-mouthed little asshole teenagers who literally were laughing at what they were doing. And when this witness pointed out what they may have just done and how serious it could be, they pretty much laughed her off too. There's a lot of people on social media that are just jumping on the bandwagon of defending these teens and calling them children. Fine, yes, they're underaged, so technically they qualify as children. But I'm sorry, these were not 6-year-old kids that picked up a firework and were like, I wonder what this is. No, these were 15-year-old kids. Now, is their prefrontal cortex finished developing? Have they learned everything they're ever going to know about life? No. But I am sorry. I remember being 15. I turned 15 at the end of the year 2000. I remember that whole period. It was my first year in high school. I remember what I was like. I remember what everyone else my age was like during that time. And the only ones that would have come even close to doing what these teenagers did were the people that you could clearly tell were already probably going to have a troubled future. Now, I'm not trying to pass judgment on these teens. I don't know them. All I know is they were going out and doing something that anybody, especially someone who's reached the age of 15, would have to know unless they were completely, utterly brain-dead stupid. They would have to know that what they were doing could cause a very serious fire in an area that is all vegetation. At the start of September, we've literally made it through the whole summer. It's been dry as hell. Any idiot younger than 15 would realize the implications of what these dumb kids were doing. But they didn't care, all right? And now, they've hopefully been busted, and now they're going to have to pay for what they did, and now they're going to suddenly act all remorseful probably. Oh, well, we didn't know. They're going to play the innocent card. They're going to play the, oh, we didn't realize this is, what was going to happen. Okay, fine. I understand that obviously when these guys went up there to do what they did, the end result in their mind would probably not, we're going to burn the Columbia River Gorge down and contaminate the air for hundreds of miles, hundreds of square miles around them. And okay, fine, I take that into consideration. But I'm sorry, that is not enough to just say, oh, well, they were some young kids, they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't mean to do this, so we shouldn't be judgmental of them. Sorry, fuck that. Let me make this very clear. And all anybody's caught up on, it seems, is the wildfire. Alright, that seems to be all that anybody's caught up in. Like, oh, these kids started a fire, the fire's really bad, but, we shouldn't just ruin these, young teenagers' lives just because they started this big wildfire. It is about so much more than that. These kids didn't just start a wildfire, maybe they didn't intend to start a fire, but what they did clearly shows that they intended on doing what they were doing, and they didn't care if they started a fire because they said so to the witness. Alright? Which practically almost constitutes what they were doing as arson. Again, unless they're completely, utterly stupid, they would have to know that the actions they were doing would instigate a fire. And it did. And they didn't give a shit. They walked away from it. I mean, did they go out of their way to find anybody? To say, oh, there's a fire, we didn't know what we were doing, it was an accident, we started a fire, still maybe something. No, they walked the hell away, and the witness to them had to report it to, I think it was like a forestry person in the area who got a hold of the authorities, and then they came into somebody. So these kids didn't even care about reporting what they did. Alright? They set the fucking forest on fire and then tried to walk away from it. Alright? They not only torched one of the most beautiful places that Oregon has, the most popular touristy place, they have destroyed at least one major historical landmark in the Oneonta Gorge Tunnel, which I admit, yes, it's, a rock cave with wood, interior around it. They'll easily be able to fix that, but are they going to be able to fix the whole friggin' gorge? Are they going to be able to fix the Oneonta Gorge in particular overnight? No. This place has been eviscerated, alright? And I'm sorry, everything that has happened in this fire since is a direct result of the actions of these stupid idiots, right? I don't care if they're 15, they're stupid idiots, and they deserve whatever they get for this. I'm sorry that they're young, okay, but they should have to pay a very stiff penalty. Not just community service, not just probation. These people need to face the fucking music, alright? These people have put several historic landmarks in danger. They've put over 1,000 homes at least in danger. Every single home that burns down is a family's life that these little shits ruined. Alright? Think about the hundreds of thousands, or at least hundreds to thousands of animals that either burned alive in the gorge or who died from smoke inhalation. All these wild animals are having to run down into the city because their world is literally being burned before their very eyes. The number of animals that died as a result of this has to be astronomical, but then again, who cares, because we're humans, and humans are more important than animals. So yeah, these teens probably led, their actions led to the deaths of all these animals, but they're just animals, and these teens are humans, so whatever. No, I'm sorry. Again, I pardon my language, this is a very serious issue to me, as I know it is to everybody else, but fuck that. Alright? And that's just what they've done in the gorge. Again, every single historical landmark that's in danger, if it gets destroyed or damaged, that is on their heads 100%. The Bridge of the Gods goes down, that's on them. They caused that. They caused the Oneonta Gorge Tunnel to be destroyed. Had the Multnomah Falls Lodge burned down, which it seems like is hopefully safe at this point, that's on them. Shepherd's Dell goes down, on them. Vista House, that's on them. Any structure in Lateral that gets destroyed, Corbett, all the damage up near Cascade Locks, Bonneville Dam, the fire that's jumped over, the embers that have gone over the Columbia River, started fires on that side near Stevenson, and all of that is on these kids. 100%. Alright? And then you go beyond that. all of the ash that is blown into this city, making our air dangerous to breathe. All right, their actions causing that fire have led to endangering all of us by putting this stuff into the air for us to have to breathe in. You know, I'm lucky that I'm 31 and don't have a pre-existing issue. I don't have asthma. I'm not using an oxygen tank. You know, I don't have a lung disease of some kind yet, knock on wood. But how many people in the surrounding areas where this ash is blowing in at? How many of these people are elderly with weakened systems? How many of these people have asthma? How many of these people have any other kind of pre-existing conditions? How many of these people have weak immune systems in this city whose exposure, even in the short term, you know, how many of those people can their health be drastically and may end up drastically being affected by all this ash that's blown in from this fire? You know, I'll be very interested to see when everything finally passes. They said starting today, hopefully, you know, it's going to start dissipating. They'll get the fire more under control and the air will finally start to clear up, and hopefully by like around Friday, it'll be kind of okay to breathe in this city again. And you know, I noticed even when I got up today, you know, it's still a little smoggy around, but it's a little bit less than yesterday. I haven't really seen any, you know, I really haven't seen just a few here and there. The amount of ash that I've actually seen floating in the air has been considerably less than even what it was last night right before I went to bed. So that's good, that's positive, but we've already had a few days exposure to it, and I'm really interested to see when this fire is pretty much taken care of and the ash kind of dissipates, how many people ended up being hospitalized, how many people ended up having conditions they already have drastically affected. You know, is anybody potentially going to die as a result of this? How many people's healths, if that's the way you want to, how many people's individual health are going to be affected by all the ash that blew into here as a result of that fire? Because all of that is also 100% the responsibility of these dumbass teenagers. And you know, am I pissed at their parents? Am I pissed at whoever allowed them access to these fireworks? Yeah, you know, it's kind of the same as the whole, like, you know, lock your guns away argument. You know, a kid gets a hold of his parents' gun and then goes to a school and shoots up people. One of the questions you ask is, why was this kid able to access a gun so easily? Why were these kids able to access fireworks so easily? But again, that does not explain everything away. These stupid idiots were old enough, smart enough to know that the actions they were taking could easily cause a wildfire. And that's exactly what happened, and they didn't give two shits about what they were doing. You know, they'll play innocent victims now, but the fact of the matter is, in the moment before this became this monstrosity that it's become, those kids did not give two shits. All right? And their actions have caused a lot more problems than just burning a few trees down. All right? This is a massive, serious, explosive situation, the likes I've never seen my whole life. I've never seen wildfire ash fall down in the city of Portland. I remember back in the early 90s, there was some wildfires up in the gorge, and I was able to drive through with my dad and his friend and one of my friends. We were able to pass Multnomah Falls and actually see some of the smoke up in the trees and whatnot, but that fire was still nothing next to this, and I don't remember exactly what started those fires. A lot of wildfires are started by, you know, not putting out your camping, you know, if you're camping out in the wilderness, you didn't put your fire out right. Someone throws a cigarette down on the side of the road. They're all stupid no matter what they are, but at the same time, you know, even something like that, you didn't quite put your campfire out right, that qualifies as an accident. Throwing flammable items into an area of nothing but trees in the driest part of the season, you are surrounded by nothing but flammable vegetation, that is not an accident. I don't care how old you are. When I was 5 years old, I could have told someone, why are you going to throw that flammable thing down there? You're going to set those trees on fire. I could have noticed that and pointed it out and realized that was messed up and going to cause a problem when I was a friggin' infant. Alright? So quit excusing what these idiots did as, oh, they were just children, they make mistakes. I literally have heard people on social media and in person say that. You know, they were young, they made a mistake. I'm so sick of age being used to excuse the actions of people. You know, there's certain instances where that does apply. But I'm sorry, just because somebody is under the age of 18 and not quite an adult yet does not mean that every stupid, life-altering thing they do is just some mistake. They didn't know any better. I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it this time in this scenario. And that's why I'm so pissed about it. This goes beyond just me. This is not me seeking out vengeance because these kids actively destroyed something, a place that's very important to me and important to just about everybody who lives around here. Everybody around here loves the gorge. Everyone around here is heartbroken about this. But I'm sick of stupid, immature, messed up people doing whatever they want, and then this faction of people always finding a reason to excuse what they did. I hate what our legal system has become. I hate what our prison system has become. I'm not a fan of just saying, that guy did this, throw him in prison. That guy did that, throw him in prison. I'm not, you know, a friggin' alt-righter who thinks everybody I don't like should be thrown in jail or killed, you know? But, you know, in this particular scenario, I don't even know what to say. It's just, I'm so sick and tired of people going to such lengths to jump to the defense of perpetrators in certain circumstances. Should these kids be hung from their neck in town square like it's 1850? No. I'm not asking for these kids to be beaten and tortured and, you know, driven utterly insane. But, you know, how many more fires are going to happen? How much more of the world around us, these trees that we need to survive, how many more times are we going to allow someone to accidentally set our forest on fire and burn the world down around us before we acknowledge that this type of action, especially in this case because this caused so much turmoil and so much danger in our society for us and the animals of the world around us. How many more times are we going to excuse it as an accident before we accept the fact that these are very serious cases that should carry very stiff penalties? All right? I don't care that they're 15. Are you telling me that if somebody had turned 18 yesterday, they're 2.5, 3 years older than these kids, they did it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're an adult. Yeah, lock them away. They knew exactly what they were doing. I'm sorry, there's not a whole lot of difference between who you are at 15, 15 and a half and who you are the day you turn 18. So, I'm sorry for all those people out there that just want to forgive and forget about everything, or have the penalty be a little baby slap on the wrist, or let's not be so mad at a time like this, we all need to just hug each other. I'm sorry. No, not this time, buddy. The punishment really needs to fit the crime in this case. And again, I hope that as part of their punishment, they're forced to spend hundreds of hours out there with everybody else who cares about bringing this gorge back. I hope they are forced to be out there and to be a part of that, and that they appreciate what they're being forced to do, because it's going to teach them to appreciate that of which they have destroyed over the past few days. So that's my 2 cents. This is probably as rough and gruff and aggressive as I'll get in these videos. Of course, unless somebody else does something stupider than this in the near future. I don't know. I hope not. Because the end of this summer has just turned into a damn nightmare around here. It's not just the Columbia River Gorge. There's fires happening all through the Mount Hood National Forest, all through the Cascades, up into Washington. Practically every state in the western half of the United States has at least 10, 20, you know, big forest fires going on. And I know it happens every year, and it's frightening. It's really frightening, and I hate to just see all these trees just getting torched, because 100% of the time, you know, it's pretty much because humans can't think for 5 seconds. You know, how many of these wildfires did these wild animals that live there cause? 0. We cause them, and then we drive these, we drive these animals out of their home. You know, my girlfriend was just talking, and she was like, you know, all these animals are getting forced down into the city. And she's like, I swear, if I hear one case of someone going out and shooting a cougar or shooting a bear, that's going to be the last straw for her. And I agree, you know? It's humanity that causes these fires, and then we act so threatened when these animals have no choice but to come down into our civilization from where they are. They'd as soon not be here. You think wild animals want to have anything to do with us? All we do is kill them and eat them. It's just a big mess. It's a big fucking mess. That's it. That's my rant officially released and done. I've been wanting to go on social media and rant about this. It's just all different ways, and I've just been, what I'm feeling right now, I've just been holding in for the last several days. But some kids have come out. I guess it's as good a time as any to end the video. So, till next time, guys. Hopefully they get this fire fully taken care of, and soon, before more and more damage occurs. And I'm also going to be putting on my channel a kind of memorial video, using videos and pictures that I've caught in the gorge over time to place with that which has been destroyed out there. And at this point, that's primarily like the Oneonta Gorge Tunnel, and just, certain stretches of, the rock and the trees growing beautifully off of them and things like that. I'm going to be doing a video for that. I'm going to be doing a video that's chronicled the last few days, but it's mostly just going to be capturing, kind of what the weather's been like and the ash and the sun. That's also going to be up on my channel before too long. So expect more in the vein of what's happened out in the gorge. But all that said, till next time, this has been Steve the Amateur Historian.